Welcome to the Service Company Challenge, presented by the Strategic Early Warning Network of Pennsylvania, also known as SOWN. In this brief presentation, you'll be hearing from our Southeast Regional Director, Greg Olson, and Kevin Buzza, COO of Profound Technologies, who will discuss his experience with our program. A brief overview of SOWN. We are a free and confidential program available to small and medium-sized businesses in Pennsylvania. We specifically assist companies who are in a stressed situation or a threatened economic segment. Since the onset of COVID, SOWN has worked with companies to pivot their business to focus on factory and or technology integration, build digital platforms, and encourage employee empowerment.
Big picture challenge that SOWN and the industries have faced is that this 2021 has become the year of the Great Resignation. The workforce turmoil was unexpected, and the magnitude of it has never been experienced before, because we currently have over 10 million job openings, and yet the new COVID fears are still there and affect how people work. And businesses have had to pivot by doing as much work as possible from at home. And even further, the digital competitors have accelerated their presence in the marketplace because the factories of the future are here. E-commerce platforms are now dominating the buying pattern for businesses. An example is that Amazon grew over 40% during the pandemic, and the supply chains have never experienced the level of turmoil that they're facing now.
So maybe we can look at it from an ownership perspective. I'm an owner of Profound Technologies, and we certainly were riding the COVID roller coaster. Orders were postponed, if not completely canceled. The new business that we did experience was volatile. We use the term lumpy in describing our prospects for the future to our bank, and just saying we see the business, but it's here, it's maybe delayed. Finding talent continues to be a real challenge. We're finding that because of inflation in wages, different positions may want anywhere from moderately more to considerably more than what was demanded pre-COVID. And the inflation effect is not just in the workforce, it's also in the raw materials and the finished goods that we use as part of our projects that we build. And then supply chains, as Greg had described, is complete chaos. A lot of the projects that we're seeing require 12 to 14, as much as 16-week lead time for equipment. To put that into perspective, many of the parts that we were working with prior to COVID were probably a week to 3-week lead time. And so imagine the challenge of riding this roller coaster. You get a contract, you're prepared to get started on it. It may involve a material that perhaps we hadn't ordered in some time, and then we find out that it's 12 to 16 weeks. And that's now in addition to the complete disruption that COVID brought to bear. So business reinvention is a topic that kind of permeates all of these different challenges. It's a question of how do we do this? How do we use this opportunity to reinvent ourselves to combat all of these various challenges? So cost reductions is something that was a primary focus when Greg and I did a webinar right as here in Pennsylvania, Governor Wolf was closing down the state and shuttering businesses, just talking about let's firm up cost reductions. But there's only so much you can do there. Next, we have to think about what do we do with our business that maybe takes us in a different direction and makes us more relevant to what our customers actually need. So the subscription and digital marketing economy is something that we've talked to with different folks that come to SOWN for advice. And it's the concept of understanding that frequently is the case these days that large capital projects or different things that we used to have an out-of-pocket expenditure have now become subscriptions. You can think about it simply as maybe the Netflix economy, where you used to have rentals, now you pay, well, let's call it $15 a month for Netflix. We have the same thing with our grocery deliveries that we can now use a service to provide, whereas that used to be something that people would go and do. We can take this concept of consumption patterns moving from larger upfront expenditures to now wanting something more manageable and leverage our businesses to be relevant to that. So for us, as an IT company specializing in meeting rooms, Zoom and Teams rooms, if you're familiar with those collaboration platforms in the conference room, we're taking the time to take what used to be an upfront expenditure and saying, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, we can now do that on a monthly subscription base. It benefits our customer because it saves that vital capital and allows us to be more competitive. In addition, reinvention approach for us that I think is also relevant to many business owners is service focus. So service contract models, we've taken some time during COVID to make it very enticing, create workflows that automate the offer of ongoing maintenance and support services, because we see that as something that customers are very focused on, maintaining their infrastructure, and is something where we can, instead of offering larger project services, can offer something perhaps more manageable on a monthly basis. We've also diversified our product offering. Traditionally, we would do larger scale IT infrastructure builds. So we would go in and do multi-$100,000 system. And now, post-COVID, because Zoom and Teams is ubiquitous, not just at our homes for our business purposes and for our children's classes, but since it's everywhere in every office, we wanted to get a larger share of that pie. And what that meant to us is providing packages that are streamlined and simpler, so that the net effect is we provide now products that are less costly, but because we've optimized for being efficient and profitable with them, we can maintain greater relevancy and have a larger opportunity at that share. And then we've retooled for the supply chain. For us, that has been an exercise in ordering in advance, communicating with our customers so that they can understand that, and just preparing ourselves so that we don't lose ground with our labor utilization, because if we have labor sitting for 2-3 months while equipment's coming in, that's devastating. So instead, we've kind of reimagined how we have to set up our supply chain so that we can keep people busy. Greg?
We have, in the SOWN program, looked at how we are coaching our businesses, and we are looking to the past to provide solutions for the future. The first big push that we have is around employee empowerment, because if you go back to the 70s and 80s, lean manufacturing, the Toyota method, et cetera, made employee-centered teams powerful, and they helped change the business process through just the day-to-day, one day at a time improvement process. And if we move to the current technology, we are encouraging our employers to use employee-friendly technology. The smartphone is everywhere, and the smartphone is very effective in communications between people, between businesses. It's very effective in training, and it can be very effective in helping with process flow within the organization. SOWN uses a customized strategy for all of our business, because these issues, while they're national, their impact is local, but the remedies are individual. Each company has their own story and their own way of doing things. So we focus on each individual company. We provide the analysis, the benchmarking, the mapping, and the model building. And we also provide access to resources. The state of Pennsylvania has a lot of organizations that are able to assist in the process. The SOWN support process is basically going to be lined up in with, this introduction video. We will do a questionnaire, a process wheel, and we will provide knowledge to the owners around things like the subscription business model and the strategic intervention.
Yeah, so I think it's important to share an endorsement and relate my experience with SOWN. It was maybe 5-6 years ago that my company had unfortunately suffered an embezzlement from someone who's no longer with us. And it was a painful, challenging time, certainly carried with it some extreme circumstances relative to crisis and response and planning after there had been a somewhat considerable drain on the company resources. And so pre-COVID, I was delighted to meet with Sohn and Greg and a few other participants, and happy to have the testimony that we worked through that and became stronger as an organization, much more organized, efficient, and profitable. And since then, I've continued to stay in touch with Greg and Sohn and volunteered my time to help other businesses that are challenged. Since COVID, some of the work that we've done has been focused on just helping advise other entrepreneurs on how to work in this crisis mode, how to think through the adjustments that need to be made, and just providing some resources for post-COVID planning. And so I recommend that anyone that's considering, needing help to stabilize or help their business that's challenged for any reason in PA to consider working with Sohn.
Kevin, thank you for your time and generous endorsement of the Sohn program. If your company would like to schedule a no-cost business evaluation, contact Greg today or visit our website at steelvalley.org/Sohn. Sohn's mission is always about saving Pennsylvania companies and jobs. Thank you.